All right. Listen, guys, phenomenal morning. I am your host, Sean East. Again, I am always flanked by the phenomenal Junior Frederick, Bobby Jackson. Listen, guys, I'm excited. What did they say? I'm outside. We outside. I feel like a kid again, man. I promise you, every time I move around, I feel good, different background. I got some insights too during this trip. Real quick insights that's going to help you to move the needle in your business. But let's see how everybody else is doing. Phenomenal morning, brothers. Talk to me. How's everybody doing this morning?
Yes, sir. So I'm doing pretty all right. I'm doing good. I'm just recovering from something. So guys, you might hear my voice. My voice might be a little different this morning, but I'm doing great. Physically, I was tested. Mentally, overcome it. Spiritually, I'm absolutely phenomenal. So doing great.
Okay. What do we always say, man? What's the energy like in the room? Come on, Bobby Jackson. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling phenomenal. I think it's a tradition for me to talk about my runs in the morning now. So I ran this morning, as always, and it was really something this morning. And my run was something this morning because I wasn't thinking about running. And sometimes we can get into our zone. And when you get in your zone, you just keep on going. So I'm feeling on 1,000. So what I want to share to anybody that's, doing something that you don't like to do, doing something that you just do not enjoy, but you know that you have to do it, just keep doing it. There's a zone coming, and that's what I hit today. I was just there, moving, grooving. Good time too. Make good time.
There's a zone coming. How do you know that a zone is coming for somebody else? Let me ask you that.
I'll say it like this. If history is any indication of the present or the future, so to speak, when you do something continuously over time, it compounds. You can't, in my experience, point anything out to me in the world around us that does not compound over time if it consistently does the same thing, like everything does. So at the end of the day, I'm pretty confident that you will hit a zone if you are consistently showing up, improving, doing your best. And what a zone is, and just to clarify, I think a zone is nothing more than you breaking through another level. So if you say it that way, it's a little more receptive. So a zone to me is when I'm running, I'm not in a zone if I'm feeling it. I'm hurting, obviously. But I hit a zone when I no longer feel what was bothering me. And that's what I feel comes to people when they do things consistently, efficiently, and over time.
Very good. Very good. Guys, listen, I said that I had an insight, and I'm going to go ahead and share the insight before we go to the break. All right. So I'm going to share the insight before we go to the break. The insight is this. Every time I travel, I'm the only one in the gym. Like, what's going on, guys? Like, we need to get up and start moving. Like, this is, for me, it's midday because I've been up, super early, right? Super early, got a lot of goals out of the way, a lot of things done. And I can remember driving to the gym at 3:00 in the morning in Queens, Long Island. And I used to be alone. I mean, alone on the strip, like hitting it. Black night. I would record my first videos on Twitter. That's right, guys. Sean East used to go live on Twitter. That's how far back I go, right? That's how my lineage is something crazy. But I would be going live on Twitter, and it was pure black nothingness. No energy, no life signs. All the lights were out in the windows, guys. That's the best thinking time. You don't have the different energies coming and flowing in. Sometimes you could pick up a frequency and pick up a bad vibe or pick up a bad feeling from somebody else. But when you're moving so early, you get to reinforce yourself. My wife calls it being in a bubble. You get to reinforce yourself and reinforce this fortitude in this bubble to where by the time people start to wake up, you're impenetrable. By the time people start to wake up and put that negative energy out there and the news comes on and what's going on in politics and what's going on around the world, by the time that stuff starts to wake up, you're already fortified. So none of that stuff can penetrate your bubble from that point forward. So anyway, last night There was one guy. There was one guy in the gym, right? One guy, hard head, he's hitting the weights hard. I said, yeah, let's go. Kindred spirit, one person. It is Friday, right? Friday evening. So of course, conventional wisdom, not get rich wisdom, conventional wisdom. Nobody's in the gym. I get up this morning, 4:00 in the morning, in the gym. Who's there? Me and me alone. I leave around 5:15. Somebody's just walking in. I said, okay, great. Listen, you got to get up and you got to move and you got to hit it early. I'm tired. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I'm tired of walking in the gym, wherever I'm at on the planet, early morning, late night, midday, and being the only person there. That's not the right spirit. That's not the right energy. So wherever you are, get up and create a culture. Create a culture of winning. That's what we're going to talk about today. Creating a culture of winning. Let's grow. We'll be right back. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just a very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. I said Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Haha, yes, yes, yes. Give yourselves a round of applause if you're all about creating that culture of winning and winning the morning early. Brothers, let's get into it.
Yes, sir. So, when we got started, Bobby had this amazing sort of analogy. And it's funny because I'm actually reading a book right now called Principles by Ray Dalio. So,
good. Let's go.
Principles by Ray Dalio. And then also I heard Patrick Bet-David say something that has always stuck with me. And he says, only the paranoid survive. Only the paranoid survive. And basically what that means is, and going back to Ray Dalio, which is what is in his book Principles, he basically had an experience a long time ago where he was severely wrong. Like he was so wrong. Like he bet that the market would go down, and not only did it go up, it went up for like 18 years. Like he was wrong.
Yeah, he was real wrong. That's wrong to the third degree, third power wrong. That's
right. But you know what? He said that it brought him his greatest strength. Now, on the last Breakfast with the Brand, I was talking about sort of tapping into the way that billionaires think, right? And then I wrote down this quote. So he says, this experience sort of changed his thinking from saying, I know I'm right, to saying, how do I know I'm right? And developing a culture of meritocracy where through his leadership, he doesn't just, pass on, let's say, commands or directives as the top coming down. He creates a culture where people are encouraged to challenge his thinking, challenge his thought, challenge his not necessarily leadership, but challenge, you know, his train of thought so that they could come to the right conclusion. So he invites all perspectives and then he's able to take their right from it. So basically he says he just wants to be right. He doesn't care if the right answer is coming from him.
Very good.
And when we look at creating a culture of winning, well, a culture of winning consists of a culture of being right. I can remember, I think it was Jeff Bezos who said that, or was it Warren Buffett? One of them, either Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett. They said that if they make 3 good decisions for the day, they've had a successful day. Just 3 good decisions, right? And that speaks to the power of strategic thinking as a leader. So guys, just wanna put that out there. And Sean, this was this was very important for me this week, right? So I'll share a little bit with the audience about what happened, what transpired with me this week, right? And in terms of how this thinking helped me actually.
Come on, let's go. Bring it into existence.
So what happened was my son got a little sick. Okay, so he started vomiting and that kind of stuff. So then I took him to a doctor, as any parent would, and the doctor prescribed a certain medication for my son. When I started applying the medication, I noticed that he started acting a little different. Like, so, and especially, this quotation kept flashing in my mind, like, only the paranoid survive. Only the paranoid survive. So I looked at his behavior. I noticed it was different. He sort of stopped eating a little bit. He started getting, he wasn't getting better. It was supposed to get better. It wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. But then you have the advice of somebody who's supposed to be a trusted professional, right? But I said only the paranoid survive. So it was actually yesterday. I got I don't know, it was a download, whatever you want to call it. I said no, only the paranoid survive. I took him to the health center. I saw the same doctor from the first time. He gave me something else, but it didn't make sense. And then I said, okay, maybe he's right, but how do I know he's right? So then I took him to another doctor, and then I found out that the medication he prescribed was actually the wrong medication. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
It was actually the
Yes,
wrong.
I can.
So guys, let me tell you something. This is not just applicable to just business. This is applicable to your entire life. How do you know you're right? Only the paranoid survive. There's no advantage in always being right or always thinking you're right. But there's a huge upside and advantage in questioning how do you know you're right. And not necessarily trying your best to be right, but trying your best not to be wrong. Like, I was trying my best not to be wrong. And if you try your best not to be wrong, sometimes you eventually end up being right. So just want to put that out there, Sean. When we talk about a culture of winning means winning in all fields, all spaces.
That's right.
All species. The same, and then you know what's so funny? My same experience from, I'll say, sales. My same experience from sales, where there's a culture of following up, is the same experience or the same culture that allowed me to follow up and make sure that everything was right and do my due diligence and follow things all the way through. Like, guys, we say that the sale is not complete until the money makes it to the bank account. It's not complete. Like, it's not complete. Like, people like, oh, they sign on the dotted line or whatever. That's fine. It's not complete until it makes it to into your bank account. Well, with your health, it's not complete until it's complete. With your, anything, your diet, nutrition, whatever you're doing, guys, I just want to tell you, if you're listening right now, ask yourself, like, just switch your thinking from saying, hey, I know I'm right, to how do I know I'm right? And remember, whether it's business, life, health, whatever it is, only a paranoid survive. You can never be too certain, too sure, but you can be not certain enough. I guarantee you that.
Bobby, I'm gonna let you jump into that. I heard a culture of curiosity along with culture of winning, creating a culture of curiosity.
This is good. This is taking me in a direction this morning that I didn't anticipate going in. So I'm not going to go there too much, but I do want to touch on it because we're talking about, in other words, not being gullible. There's a more technical term for this if you want to look into it. It's called incredulous. Incredulous people tend to go off of information without research. See, we live in an information age. Now, there was something Jim Rohn said that I thought was really remarkable. He said, don't be a follower, be a student. A student that does research is not the same as an individual receiving information. An individual receiving information is being marketed a concept and are accepting that concept as true. A student that is conducting research is evaluating multiple sources, the validation and credibility of the source, and then they're cross-analyzing to identify what we call the confidence interval. So the confidence interval pretty much tells us, based on how much data I have, how confident can I be in it being accurate. So I'm not going to go down that road, but one thing, the reason I wanted to touch on that is because a lot of people have fallen in love with the idea of making money. I had a revelation. As I was researching, doing market research as any good business owner would, and I was checking the pulse of the people as my coach has taught me to do, I realized people are sick of making money. They're sick of it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they're just making money. They're not keeping none of it. They're not turning any of it into wealth. They're not expanding their net worth. Everybody out here is teaching them how to make more money, make more money, make more money, but nobody's teaching them how to develop a wealth mindset. And that's what we're talking about. Health is wealth. You know, that's what we're talking about. So it's like, I started to change my avatar. Like, I was working on some copy last night, and in my copy, I said, if you're not tired of making money, I'm not the solution for you. I'm interested in individuals that are sick of making money. You've made the 100,000. You've made the million. You are ready to expand your net worth and start to engage in a wealthy lifestyle. Now, this does two things for me. One, it repels people that are still interested in making money, because those individuals are going to focus on the revenue. And if they focus on the revenue, they're going to move anytime the revenue is not doing what it's supposed to do, and they're not going to get the revenue that they're looking for. So I'm done with that. But it also does something else for me. Does something else for me.
Let's go.
Right. So what else it does is it makes sure that I'm working with people that's got plenty of money and capacity to make money. So much money, they sick of making money. And that's a good ideal client. So what I wanted to talk about, though, when it comes to creating a winning culture was Big Gross and Cisse. So these were two Marines, right? So I wrote a note here. In the Marine Corps, we have an interesting culture that I've carried with me. And one thing is, everybody wants to win, but nobody wants to put the reps in. Everybody wants to win.
That's right.
Nobody wants to put the reps in.
No.
So one of the things that we would do in the Marine Corps was we would do this thing called fittings. Now, a fitting is when you are practicing a technique and you are stopping before you complete the technique. Now, once you do so many fittings, you execute the technique. So a fitting is a repetition of the motion. So as you go through the motion, you prepare to execute the technique. Now, my man's Big Gross, I call him Big Gross for a reason, because this dude was like 6'3", And at 6'3", doggone, probably 215 pounds, he was a solid brother. And in the Marines, they don't care how big or how small you are. They are creating a culture of winning. And they don't care how big the enemy is when you show up in front of them. If they're not wearing the same camis as you, is you or them. They don't care how big that person is. So I'm in the circle. They create this circle because you can't get out. Like if you try to run, you try to get out, they're going to push you back in. So I'm in the circle and I'm doing my fitting, and Big Gross comes in, picks me up, body slams me. Boom! Oh my gosh. All the air leaves my chest. And when you get hit, like slammed on the ground, those that do martial arts, your head, like it snaps sometimes. And like if it snaps when you hit the deck, like your brain is moving around in there. So it's like it hurts and you get a headache. And if you're doing a fitting, they put you through a line. So it's 15 of these guys. And Gross is like the 7th dude. So I've been through one guy, boom, another guy, boom, another guy, boom, another guy, boom, and then Big Gross. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. He slams me, boom. I think it's over, but I didn't break my fall right. So a break fall is what you do when you fall to protect yourself from getting hurt. I didn't break fall right, so the military instructor said, slam him again. Huh? What? Boom! Instructor said, oh, so you tired, huh? You've been through 7 guys, you tired, huh? Slam him again. Boom! After that, I got to a point where I was just like, this sucks. And I say that to say this. Everybody that came up against me got theirs. I mean, I was slamming people left and right. When it was my turn to pick somebody up, they felt every bit of it. And that's a culture. That's a culture. Like when they beat up on you, they make sure you beat up on the next guy. And it's all love. But like if they're soft on you and they don't keep slamming you and you don't learn to break fall, you're going to be soft and you might take it easy on the next guy. But when you get slammed, they slam you, you what? You slam the next guy. And what does that do? That makes a culture of individuals that body rock each other. So when it goes time to get into combat in real life, you know we body rock.
Wow. Listen, I think I'm gonna leave with that. I think we just gonna go ahead and go to a break with that, and we'll be right back, guys. Just pay attention. Break your fall right. Go get a cup of coffee or something. Break your fall right. We'll be right back. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating. All right. Dominating, the culture of curiosity. Guys, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. The culture of winning. So that's what I was talking about early in the morning, right? And I just wanted to say, I'm glad that your son is good, Junior. Let me just put that out, right? Thank you for sharing that too, because people don't understand, like, there are lives taking place at the same time. Right, you're trying to grow your business. You're trying to, hit your numbers, and you're like, here's Sean East, here's Junior Frederick, here's Bobby Jackson, and whoever else that you may, follow, watch, listen to, or see, and you're like, they don't have the same struggles. They're far removed from this, like Teflon. They don't suffer this stuff. Like Sean East, it's just easy for him. Right. And what I want you to understand, guys, is, we go through life too. So I wanted to say something for what Bobby said, right? Because the body check piece, it's even deeper than just creating the culture of winning and creating the camaraderie and the family feel and spirit. Because when these people are deployed to war, lives are in the balance. When you create your business, your future is in the balance. Freedoms are at stake. When I retired my wife, that was war. That was not peacetime. That was wartime. Because one of two things was going to happen. When I retired one of two things was going to happen. Either I was going to retire myself next, or she was going to have to go back to work, because I failed and wasn't able to keep up that level of tenacity where she could remain out of the workforce, right? So it was a lot of weight and a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility on me as the husband, as the provider, as the person who told her father I was going to take care of her. Right now, it's like, okay, you said what you said, like everybody here, right? You said what you said. You said you're a speaker. You said you're a coach. You said you're going to start your business. You said, this is the year I'm going to go to 6 figures. This is the year I'm going to go to 7 figures. This is the year I'm going to scale my business. And then I said it on the weekday calls. I said, because I hear it all the time, I never use this terminology, but people say as an excuse, life be lifing, right? So things show up. They say also that life shows up. Listen, that's a blessing that life shows up, because if it doesn't, you're dead. Like, you don't have one. And if life does show up and you're lucky enough to wake up in the morning, because a lot of people, yesterday was their last day. There are authorities being alerted right now to no motion, non-responsiveness. So if you're lucky enough to wake up and grace the planet again with your energy, what do you do to body check yourself? What do you do? So me, I wake up, I work out, and there's a reason, because I'm creating a culture of winning. not just in my business, but also in my body, because if my body doesn't work, my business won't. And let me tell you something, because people say, you know, things go wrong, things break down. I had this problem and didn't know it for 9 months. I had this problem and I went to the doctor and they said that it's been going on for X amount of time. Right? Listen, I'm closer to 50 than 30. Don't get it twisted, right? We ain't, you know, spring chickens around here. But however, when you're more informed, when you use your body, when you create a relationship with your physical constituents, you will notice something out of place or out of whack before anyone else does, because you're in constant communication. You're constantly feeling. Now, I want you to relate this to your business. I want you to relate this to your business. Are you in constant communication? Are you actively working your business, all components at all times, or are you just sitting back hoping that everything goes good? If that's the case, that's a culture of complacency. That's a culture of weakness. That's a culture of hope, and hope is not a strategy.
No, Sean, as you're speaking, I'm just thinking, when you said life be lifing, I I sort of smiled a little. I sort of smiled a little bit, and I was just thinking to myself, like, the number of like micro calculations I make in a day is absolutely incredible. Like the number of micro calculations that I make in a day, and I can't imagine how somebody allows life to life them, or however they say it, right? Let me literally, when I'm walking, if I'm walking, let's say I'm going to the hospital, I'm already thinking, okay, when I get there, this is gonna happen. This is what I'm gonna do. When they do this, this is what I'm gonna do. When they do that, that's what I'm never surprised. I'm never surprised. And I notice by always thinking, okay, at least 5 moves ahead, or putting yourself in that mind state, life doesn't life you. Life, it cannot life you. It's not possible.
That's right.
So I can't imagine, like, it just dawned on me, like, the average person, they might just be going through life. And then it goes back to what I was saying about, sorry, so when you look at different levels of action, there's no action, it's people that do nothing at all. There's reaction, so people who react, and then there's creative action. So creative action means you push the domino that pushes the next domino that pushes the next domino.
That's right.
And if you have a culture of creative action, it's very difficult for life to life you. Like, it will happen, but it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. And also, this brings to my mind the importance of principles. I'll use the example, principle of eating 1 meal a day. Or if you eat more than one, you only you only eat in an 8-hour period. So if you eat at 12, let's say 9 in the morning, you don't eat after 8 hours, because that's when your body shuts down. It starts to, like, taking the nutrients from what you eat. So certain principles that you use, it's very tough for bad things to happen to you. And when Bobby spoke about, the body checking, I realized that what the military is doing here is they're creating a new culture, but they're also raising the standard. So that's what I heard, raising standards. Like, what is the standard? So Bobby now, when it's his turn to body slam people, he has a new standard for what that is. And that's because of the standard that the military set based on a principle that is going to allow them to survive in tough scenarios. So the way that I approach my life now, like today, is what principles can I set up? And I'm doing this, like, while I'm talking to you actively. What principles can I set up? And I'll use, especially since I'm reading the book Principles by Ray Dalio. This is so amazing, like, the way it all intertwines. Principles for life, principles for health, principles for wealth, principles for business. Like, everything has its principles. An example would be history repeats itself. You can only be surprised by something if it has not happened before. And I know Bobby can speak to that, going into the whole macroeconomics and all of that. But when it comes to business, there are certain principles as well. Principles like giving people what they want and not what you want to give them. That's a big one that a lot of people don't follow, right? They give the market what they want to give the market. They don't give the market what the market is asking for. So I just wanted to say that, like, guys, if you're moving through life, which everybody is, try to take creative action as you're moving through life. Try to calculate. Now, not everybody's a high C, not everybody's super calculative, but just try to think at least one step ahead. How can I create the conditions that I want, or the conditions that's going to make me the most successful in my life, my business, my relationships, my finances? And that's what I do every single day.
And I'm going to say this, right, before Bobby jumps in. If you don't have the analytic skills and the capabilities, put yourself in the right environment. See, Bobby put himself in the body check environment. He might not have had the wherewithal. If you remember on Tuesday or Monday when we was on the Breakfast with the Brand, he was talking about being 119, weighing 119, and not even, he had to eat extra calories to even make weight to go into the military, right? So he might not have come from a culture of winning. He had to put himself in a culture of winning. And that's the same thing with the leadership leverage, right? People don't come from a culture of winning. They might come from a culture of lack and slack. But when you put yourself inside a culture of winning, now you begin to pick up those success principles that Junior was talking about. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what the brand has been able to do for me is it's phenomenal how the soil that you're planted in has such a huge impact on your development. So I was listening to Les Brown this morning, and he was saying weeds can grow through the cracks in the ground, right?
Yeah.
But a sickle tree or some kind of tree that he was talking about, he was like, that type of tree structure requires a certain type of nutrients, a certain type of soil, a certain type of sunlight and attention. So I just wanted to bring a little bit of light to that statement, because it's not a statement to take lightly. If you are not there's a really good book I enjoy. The book says, judge a tree by its fruit, and you know its fruit based on its root. Now, it doesn't say based on its root part, but it says judge a tree by its fruit, by the fruit it bears. So if you're not bearing the fruit that you want to bear, look at your soil. And if your soil is not conducive for the structure, for the tree, for the distance, for the place that you're trying to get to in your life, it was Jim Rohn who said, you can move. You're not a tree. He says, if you don't like where you are, you don't like what you're doing, get up and move to something more conducive for where you want to go. So that was that piece. But to lean more into that life be life, like I have a twofold concept on this, because I'm doing what I like to call an annual not a detox, but like a annual digest. So as I get to the end of the year, I've been doing this for about 2-3 years now. I try to digest everything that I've learned in the year, and I try to I put it in a form of a document. And then I have what I want to do next year, so I can reflect and I can see how I'm growing. And I got this idea from Jim Rohn. He said that he was writing all the books down that he had read in his life, and he was taking copious notes. And then he wanted to give that book to his kids, the book of all the lessons he learned, all the books he read, and when he read them and dated them. So what I do, something similar, is I make a catalog of my life, so that when I'm passed away, or when my kids get 20, I can say, hey, this is what I was going through at 20. When they hit 30, I can say, hey, this is what we were, hey, when the marriage was going on the rocks, this is what daddy did. And they can look and see the chronological order and date stamp, and they know who they were living with. So it's just a really powerful way to pass down wisdom, legacy, and knowledge. So I was doing my process, and something that came to me was super profound. So I want to share it with you guys. So what came to me was this: if I can get you to believe a lie you want to believe, I never have to lie to you again, and you will happily reject the truth. And I'm going to say that one more time because it really transformed my life when it came to me. So it goes like this. If I can get you to believe a lie you want to believe, I never have to lie to you again, and you will happily reject the truth.
Ooh.
And this came to me because that was my life this year. This year, I was believing a lot of things that I wanted to believe, and they were causing me a lot of pain. And when I would hear the truth, I would treat it like bad company. Didn't want to hear it. Coach would be like, you need to do more calls. I say, I'm doing enough calls. You say you need to do more calls. I'm doing enough calls. You're running out of money. You're not going to be able to do it. You need to do more calls. I did more calls. I got a different result. Got a different result. It says you need to move these invoices around. You need to do this. You need to do that. So the lie that I had bought into was that building my business would be easy. I bought into it. I bought into the idea that this was going to be, okay, check this out. Oh man, and I won't stay here too long, but I bought into the idea that I have had such a hard life that nothing in life can be as hard as what I've experienced. Not understanding that the hardships in life are preparing me for harder challenges. That's a fallacy. The fallacy is that I've been through so much, I've experienced so much, I can handle anything. So we go into new challenges assuming that we're going to have the wherewithal to handle the new thing. If we don't properly orient ourselves, we don't understand that we've been through what we've been through to prepare us for what we need to handle. I had another revelation as I was doing my detox, so to speak. That other revelation was healing is the process of, oh man, I wrote it down, but I'm gonna try to give it to you guys. Healing is not the process of undoing everything that's been done to you, but figuring out why it had to happen. I was just going through, my process, right? So let's move forward into the winning culture piece, but I just wanted to give y'all that because it's been helping me. So what lies have you bought into? And what lie, and understand this, another key factor is you wanted to believe it. What lie did you buy into because you wanted to believe it to be true? Those are the toughest ones to get out of. And then what truth are you possibly rejecting? That's where you have to be credulous. You don't want to be gullible. You want to challenge yourself. You want to be curious about your belief system. Look at your construct and say, am I right about this? Because it's not about being right. It's about not being wrong, as Junior said. So go through that and ask yourself, what lie have I probably wanted to believe that's causing me to reject the truth that could transform my life? What do they say? The truth will set you free. All right, I'm moving forward. So the winning culture.
Oh, let's go.
The winning culture piece. So we were also talking about life be life and people not taking responsibility, control over their life. So I'm reading, we have a culture over here, guys. We have a culture of reading because we're a culture of leaders. So I'm reading too. And I'm reading this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in this book, he talks about the circle of influence. And one thing I want you to know about people that life be life and on, they tend to have the smallest circles of influence, meaning they take the least amount of responsibility. So they have the least amount of authority over their present state. And the last thing that I'll end you guys with before I pass it off here is that the best winners, the biggest leaders out there that like the winners take massive, massive ownership. They take extreme ownership. And this extreme ownership gives them a very important quality and characteristic. It gives them a sphere of influence that is huge. And I'll give you 2 examples that are very, very brief. Michael Jordan. There was an interview. Guy came up to Michael Jordan and said, hey, if the game is on the line, it's the last couple of seconds, who's getting the ball? Michael Jordan literally said this. And I'm paraphrasing, but I'm like really close. He was like, that's a stupid question. Me. And he walked off. He's like, if the game is on the line, you're giving me the rock because I'm taking that shot. Because that's the type of ownership that I take over the team's success. And then there was Kobe Bryant, another very brief story. Kobe was young Kobe, just coming into the league, He was still playing with Shaq, that Kobe. And Kobe was shooting air balls at the end of a particular big match. And he was shooting the air balls because his legs was done. But he took ownership of the end of the game. Nobody else wanted to take the shots. Nobody else wanted to take the shots because they didn't want to mess up their averages. Those of you all that follow basketball, follow statistics, like that's how they get rated. That's how they get moved up in their careers, how they get drafted, how they get paid. Kobe said, I'm taking ownership of the end of this game, and shot the air balls with no regard for his statistics, but taking ownership of the moment. And that's what winners do.
All right. Listen, guys, I'm gonna try to sum this up. I hope you guys are sharing this out. Share this out to your people, because I promise you that circle of influence is everything. The mastermind principle is everything, right? So what Bobby's talking about when he says the circle of influence, and what Junior's talking about when he's talking about other people and reading books, you got to create a mastermind alliance. You might not have access to the people, right? When I grew up, I didn't have access to the people. I didn't know who the people were. I didn't even know this world existed. I didn't even know these things were possible. I had to, once I found out about it, I didn't have the money, right? So let me give you guys the real hack, like the no nonsense. This is what you do. I had no money. I created a cadre of coaches, consultants, and mentors online. They did not know they were mentoring me. You don't understand how powerful this is. You do not understand. You do not even grasp an inkling of how powerful this is. Who was one of my mentors? Eric Thomas. He was one of my mentors. Ever since I saw When You Want to Succeed as Bad as You Want to Breathe, I said, ooh. Why? Because I was one of those kids in a wayward situation in that classroom. Now, I'm not saying I was in the classroom, no, but my life was in the classroom. I was coming back from that hardcore situation. So when I heard that, and when I looked into him and I found out more about him, that he came from, being broken home to college, I was already in college. But at that time, I was going for my associates, but I didn't say I'm going to get the associates now. Now I said I'm going to get the master's degree. And then when he said I'm going to get the doctorate, I said, oh, we can do that too? That's what I'm headed for. And he got one. And I'm going for two. Why? Because I kept people around me. Do you understand? Just hear me out, guys. Hear me out. How powerful and how magical. See, this is what you guys want. You want miracles to happen in your life. Miracles are created when you create. Miracles are created when you become miraculous. When you become magical, magic happens. So what did I do? Listen, it's almost defies logic and reason how Eric Thomas would go on to write the foreword for the 7 Prerequisites to Success. He wrote the foreword for my first book, The 7 Prerequisites to Success. It's a guy I didn't know. Guy I couldn't have paid $500 if he would have asked for the foreword. I wouldn't have been able to give him 5 stacks at that time. But in my mind and in my heart, I believed it to be so. And I created this mastermind alliance of people. So when I had a question, I could Google in my community of people who were my mentors and coaches by default. See, you don't need the money to get started. You need to get started to get the money. Let's shift the thinking. You do not need the money to get started, but you need to get started to get the money. You don't need the coaches to get the money, but you need the money to get the coaches. You don't need the money to get the coaches, but you need the coaches to get the money. Make it interdependent. Make it interdependent. And we're talking about accountability. That's what Bobby left off on. And I just wanted to say this. President Truman, I Googled this, right, guys? I'm using my phone. I'm a real person, right? President Truman had a no-nonsense approach to decision-making. The sign, "The buck stops here," on his desk reflected his belief that he was ultimately responsible for the actions of his administration. Back in my office, I have a sign on my desk that says, "I am the buck." I am the buck. I take 1000% accountability and responsibility for what goes right in my life and business and health and relationships, and what goes wrong in my life and in my business, in my health and in my relationships. And this is one of the things that I've done since I was 17, maybe even 14, 15. I started doing this thing real early. You see that? You see that right there? That's my first enemy. My first enemy is the sun. If it ever gets up before me, I'm mad. If the sun ever comes up before me and becomes active, if I wake up and I open the window and I see that, it's a problem. The sun is my first enemy, and I beat the sun up every day. Create a culture of winning, create a culture of thinking, create a culture of people, create a culture of strategic alliances, whether you can pay them now or not. Create a culture of strategic alliances so that you can find the answers to the questions that you have in your life and in your business. One of those answers is right below on the banner. Branded like a leader. I put together every single principle that I learned in business. Every single principle. People ask me all the time, Sean, how do you create your ideal client? How do you attract your ideal client? How did you write the book? How do you keep the youthful appearance? How do you keep the energy? How are you so energetic? How do you write emails? How do you send emails? How do you market to your people? It's all in Branded Like a Leader, guys. It's all in Branded Like a Leader. So the answers are there. The question is, are you? The system works. The question is, do you? And I'm going to leave you with this one last thing when we talk about alliances and people and strategies and communities and the best thing that you could possibly do. And it's funny because new words come to me and new terminology comes to me through working. Understand, working begets the work. If I'm not working, then I'm not learning. I'm not exercising. If I'm not exercising and flexing, then I'm not learning. I'm not getting feedback. When you work out, you get feedback from your body in the form of sweat, in the form of weakness, in the form of failure. And when I'm working right now, I'm getting feedback in the form of new thoughts that would not have come to me if I wasn't doing this work. So watch this. Like be liking. Like be liking. For all of you who say life be lifing, like be liking. You're around the same people who are just like you. And that's why life be lifing, because you're not changing your circle. So what you're used to getting is what everybody around you is used to getting. So you know what you're going to do? You're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. And you're going to keep having the same circle to complain to, and they're going to complain back to you. And you're going to share circumstances and share situations and share complaints and share failures. Oh, man, this is a hard statement, but it's a truth. It's a true one. When you create that culture of losing, your children inherit like be liking, because your children and then other people that you know, their children become friends, and they don't have the right examples, and they don't have the right principles, and they don't have the opportunities to see examples of success. So they don't have the principles, guys. So you either pass down poverty or prestige by choice. When we talk about leadership leverage and legacy, this is what we mean. The choices that you make will pass on to your children a generation of legacy and a generation of entitlement and purpose and possession, or poverty, lack, and loss. The sacrifices that we take today, the investments that we take today in building our skills, our mindsets, our abilities, the workouts that we do today, you think it's, oh, they just like to work out. Oh, they just like to read. Oh, they just, when I say stay broke, I mean it. Stay broke. As soon as you get money, find something meaningful to invest that in, because you're going to lose it either way. You're going to lose it either way. It's not going to stay there. It's going to be gone. Somebody's going to come for it. The tax man going to come for it. You're going to see something slow and pick it up just because you got the money in the bank. So as soon as you get some money invested in something that's going to help you to drop the seed in the right soil, because you would rather live with necessity and need in the moment than live in the future with regrets and things that you could have done and opportunities that you could have taken advantage of. I promise you this. I did not take advantage of every opportunity I had. This is not my first time in college. I went to college the first time I was 18 years old. Just imagine if I would have held on to this kind of energy then, where I'd be now. Look at where I am now, and just imagine if I would have cultivated that kind of energy then. Some people might wonder, why does he say $1 billion brand? Why is the $1 billion brand there? Is Sean a billionaire? No. But is that the goal? Yes. Do I know how we're going to get there? No. If you know where you're going and how you're going to get there, then you're not going far enough. You're just going down the block and around the corner. Why waste your life trying to get somewhere you already know how to get? If you can see it as a figment in your imagination, you're thinking small. It needs to be something that you have no idea how you're going to do. That's when the magic happens. That's when God meets you halfway and take you the rest of the way. We've gone on for a moment this morning. We've waxed deep this morning, right? we want you to be successful. We really, really do. I'm gonna let Bobby close us out this morning because it looks like he's ready to bite the bit. I know he's got something real quick, and we'll be back next week. I'll be back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You already know what it is. This is how we give it up. We want you to be as successful as you can see yourself being, and not an inch more.
Oh, man. Well, thank you, Coach. I'll give you guys this piece real quick then. Direction. Changing direction. So I'm a visual learner. I like to see things, analogies and stuff like that. And as I was listening to, Sean talk about the different things and Junior talk about the different things, I started thinking about what caused me to stay where I was for as long as I was there. I could have moved a little bit faster. I was a lot like the people in Israel to the promised land. It took me a lot longer than it had to because certain things took place. So one thing that was working against me very briefly was negative habits, like negative momentum, like things that were not conducive for where I was trying to go. And habits are really, really powerful. The good ones will take you further than you could ever imagine, and the bad ones will prevent so much good from showing up in your life. So what I want to give you guys is a habit breaking strategy. And again, this is my annual detox. I'm giving you something that I literally have been leveraging for the past, 11 months now, give or take. So here's the story, so to speak. So I was playing Frisbee, and I am physically fit, but I'm not athletic. And the difference is coordination. I'm not a very coordinated hips, feet, hands kind of guy. But I was playing Frisbee, and I was playing with an individual that is extremely coordinated, very coordinated, played football and all this other stuff. And I kept hurting myself when I was trying to follow him, guard him, so to speak. So anybody that knows anything about sports, you want to stay with them. And these guys are cutting, and they're moving all about. And what I realized was I should just ask, how is he able to move as well as he is, and I keep getting hurt? And he pretty much said, yo, Jack, that's what they call me in the Marine Corps. They're like, yo, Jack, you are not chopping. I said, chopping? What's a chop? He's like, okay, check me out. If I'm sprinting in a dead sprint this way, I got so much momentum going that if I just turn my body, the momentum that I have going this way is going to cause an injury because my body's going to either be in front of me or behind me, and I'm trying to turn. And those two things don't work well. Make sense, Bobby? I was like, yeah, it happens to me all the time. Messing up my knees, messing up my ankles. Yeah, I understand. Right? So he was like, so this is how you do it. This is what you need to do. He says, when you're sprinting, what I need you to do is chop. Da-da-da-da-da. So a chop is when you're running really fast and then you ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. So you come almost to a stop, but you don't stop. You just chop. And this chopping is you taking all of that force and momentum and de-accelerating without losing power, explosiveness, or efficiency. So what we try to do is we try to sprint and turn. But if you sprint and turn, you got too much momentum going, so you're gonna hurt yourself. When you do this properly, you sprint, you chop, and when you chop, you can pivot. And because you've chopped, you've built up all of that energy and momentum, and you had it, so you redirect it, and now you're more explosive. So if you guys want to look this up, it's called chopping. But the power behind this that I wanted to give you guys was this. The chopping in your life is failure. Failure happening over and over and over again is the chop. Because what's happening is you're deaccelerating, you're going through, and you have to do it fast. This is why chopping works. You've got to be sprinting in one direction, and then you've got to chop extremely quickly, change direction so you can take the momentum and explosiveness with you. What a lot of people aren't doing, and by a lot of people, I mean me, I'll talk about myself. What I wasn't doing was I wasn't failing enough, and I wasn't failing fast enough. So the faster I failed and the more I failed, the more I could deaccelerate and the more I could power up. So I had to do bigger things. I had to take bigger risks. I had to make bigger investments, and I had to do them in a quicker succession. And the faster I did them, the faster I could chop. And once I was able to chop down enough of the old habits, enough of the old momentum, I was able to pivot. And I know we're a little bit over, so I just wanted to give y'all that.
That's why I let them close out. Junior, any last words?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Bobby, I'm definitely going to be looking that up. Listen, it reminds me of something, Sean. It reminds me of something. While Bobby was speaking, I asked myself the question, how can I fail better? How can I fail better? Because failing is inevitable, but how can I fail better? So speed. We always talk about speed, right? Speed is very important. So I'm thinking, how can we fail in a way where it doesn't cause us to crash, right? Because sometimes you could fail and never recover. So how do you fail better? How do you fail in a way that doesn't cause you to crash? That allows you to continue going on, okay? And that's it, man. How do you fail better? You fail better by, goes back to what I was saying, not necessarily focus on trying to be right, but focusing on not being wrong, or increasing the likelihood of you not being wrong. And that's how you feel better. I just wanted to say that.
Very good. Very good, guys. Listen, take the best action possible. Like in this next moment, take the best action possible. Take the biggest reach that you ever thought possible. Do something a little bit crazy. If people aren't regarding you as crazy, then you're not thinking big enough. That's a guarantee. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted and people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a 0 to the world, but you'll also add a 0 to your revenue. Let's grow.